Okay.
So this is what I was thinking we might like to do. I know I put some words down that we would discuss, but I was thinking, why don't we talk about what we feel people are going to need going forward in terms of skills? Things like integrity, discernment.
Feathers.
What do you think about that? Hello, lady.
Discernment, integrity. What I feel about that is that sounds very distant for me, and like concepts that never really assisted me in understanding what the heck and how to move forward. And that's what comes up for me right away.
Okay, cool. Well, we
And
won't go there then if that feels icky. Danusha, does that do anything for you?
No.
Okay. So I think we should just open the conversation and talk about whatever's going on. Who wants to go first?
look, Chloe would love to throw something out.
Chloe, go for it.
Yeah, I want to throw something about this.
Your volume is really low.
Okay.
Okay, we'll just have to talk louder. You mean like our speaking?
It's really low. Danusha, can you hear them?
Yeah, just. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just talk a bit louder.
Okay.
A bit more intention.
All right.
Who's speaking?
I don't know. Is Chloe speaking?
Yeah.
Oh,
There she is.
what heck?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, it's not like I want you to see me in my underwear. Yeah.
I can't see your underwear. I can only see your face and your shoulders.
All right. Yeah, my sexy face and shoulders will
There
stay
you go,
sexy
woman.
underwear.
There you go.
Discernment has been like a big word to me, because when I think of discernment, it means actually seeing beyond what is presented to you. Like you have to go on your feelings. You had an interesting experience the other day that said discernment.
Yes.
Someone was offering you something,
Yes.
and as much as you felt, oh, this would be nice to accept this, their statement made you realize that they're not doing it for my blessing. They want to see how I'm reacting to this stuff. That's discernment.
Yeah.
So you use discernment to make an assessment as to, is this something good? Is this a choice that I should make? And we use discernment all the time, and it is vital and key in directing us in the choices that we make.
Yes.
And so I didn't want to jump off of I was like, oh no, let's talk about discernment for a little bit, because that's like so important in how we assess our relationship, what we come about, how we respond to people. And if we don't have discernment, like pretty much if you don't trust your inner self.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so how does somebody that doesn't know anything about discernment, how can they come to their own discernment? Like, is there a process? Is there something they can do? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Can I? I'm gonna
Go
hug
for it.
Yeah, you keep going. You keep going.
Yeah, I think if we get the word discernment out of the way and don't think about the word discernment, but transpose that to something simple like, I ain't feeling that.
Cool.
Or what's my gut saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just go with your senses. And oftentimes we prefer other people, the situation and circumstances around us. We give more place to that at times than our own self, because we're brainwashed to think, oh, that's so selfish. I can't think about myself.
Mm.
You know, so I think really if we actually pay attention to how you're feeling.
That's excellent. I'm with you, woman. You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
So do you know what? Do you know what I think about this? Just as it came up, I thought, well, are people tapping into a one discernment, or does everybody have their own discernment that's different, or is everybody tapping into the same discernment?
Okay. Anybody want that? Because
I feel that we maybe innately have a similar discernment. Like we can all sense when we're really in stillness or calm what doesn't feel good for ourselves, or depending on our exposure to consideration and people who are considerate in different ways, culture wise or habit wise, that we might pick up on things a little differently. Um, and we can really sense if someone doesn't feel well. It's like I use joking as an example. In my travels, some people joke, and across culture, different languages, some things don't resonate or aren't funny. And there's been times when myself or someone else has laughed, and there's someone who doesn't understand, and maybe they'll speak and say, what's so funny? Or maybe they'll, internalize and take it personally. And that's why I also learned for myself to ask people at times, like, to interpret whatever they're speaking in another language, or to also consider if it's not funny for the person and they're making a joke about the person or someone, and this just something doesn't feel good, to honor that and not bypass it with, oh, well, you're just too sensitive. And that actually came up for me today as I was raking, and we were preparing the fire and the yard just now for a full moon and to have a nice big teepee fire. Remembering how when I would express emotions, a lot of people some people in my immediate circle in my development would just write it off as, oh, you're just being a peach, or you're too sensitive. And so I didn't understand my own emotions. And when I did express, I was shut down, or I wasn't held in a way that I could understand what was happening or be heard. So then I just stopped expressing. So I feel like no matter where we come from, if we're really still, we can sense if something's off for someone else. And we can be picking up on the same wavelength of, oh, something is, not matching. It's not right or wrong, but we can tell if something affects someone, even if they're, even if we don't know them, we get that sense. So I feel like the more we listen to one another and speak with one another, that we can learn to remember that everybody functions differently and everyone needs to be held in different ways.
Those are really good points. This makes me wonder, do you guys feel that the word truth is linked with discernment? Like, that's what keeps coming up. Is discernment truth?
Yes.
To me, it's your own truth. And this is the challenge for thyself with that discernment. It's having the confidence in trusting your knowing and going with it, rather than just ignoring it. So when people even think, well, how would I know? Well, it's like, you must remember a time where you knew something was right and you felt so strong. What did it feel like? Do you remember? Was it a physical feeling, an emotional feeling? There was something that only you can recognize in your body that you know. And when you've got it, then that's your knowing. But then it's how you then
and that's your
you
truth.
work with it.
And that's your truth.
It is your truth because it's yours and yours only.
Just to make the connection. Yeah.
And so from what Keisha just said, the way that seems to happen for you, have I got this right, is that you get really still and quiet.
I have a lot of experience in my life of being an observer and being in silence and not speaking most of the time, no matter what I sensed, and learning how to speak and shift out of that the past few years and the years of doing more self-development and inner work, but a lot of observing. And the gift of walking on eggshells when I was younger is, and being naturally very inclined towards medicine woman kind of path or path, is that I pick up on other people and that stillness and that listening. And it came to a point where I could actually hear people's hearts speaking to me. And there's times when I would say something, and I even had someone say, "Oh, well, yeah, but I didn't say that out loud." And I remember the first time that happened, I went and I sought the wisdom of an elder, because I was like, I'm starting to hear, I couldn't tell between people's thoughts or people's hearts. And so in the stillness, I feel like even if we're not psychically gifted in that way, that we don't hear those things, we can sense it, because we all have these senses that we're starting to reconnect with and reopen up also, and when we're still and quiet within ourselves, when I am, then I'm able to hear my truth of, oh, does this feel good? And does it feel good for everyone? Because I've also been working on, how do I ensure I feel safe and I am peace, and therefore I am a sanctuary, and create that from my core out to my environment. And so when something is off for somebody else, then I can sense it, especially if I'm balanced.
So this brings up something that just pinged me. And of course, it's my ping and nobody else's ping, okay? But do you think that this could be a gender thing? Like, I find lately I'm really noticing differences in the way communication happens, the way thoughts happen, the way things are expressed between like genders. And I know you guys, that concept of divine feminine and divine masculine is fairly new to me coming into this community. So I know a lot of people say we've got both of those parts, right? And that the idea is to balance them. But maybe for me, I haven't met a person in a male container that is balanced. And I'm not, I'm obviously not. I got to keep working on that. But do you think that gender is something to do with this?
I just got to speak up.
Go.
Since I have I got an amazing friend.
Is he single?
Yeah, but I said, I have an amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And I'm, even when there are challenges, I have to just consider that I don't know another male who is as spiritually in tune and who gives himself such space. Like, he will be up at 5 a.m. just so 5 and 7 he can have that space. He's very devoted as far as I'm gonna put this spiritual self in. He's got issues at work. He's like, I gotta put myself in a space because I gotta rock this. I need the extras to come. He's exercises, is very discerning, exercise a lot of discernment, and that's one of the things that I told him that I really appreciate having him in my life, because usually I'm the go-to person, like people come to me, and he was like, well, who do I go to? And I was like, oh my God, I got somebody with such a wider base and even different than my own. And he's bringing new perspective to things. And even in his dreams, he has very deep dreams. And, I can even go, oh shoot, I can see what that means. You know, he's just really deep like that. So Sarah's man is like that. Sarah's partner.
Okay,
It's
so you know two men like that. How many women
know
do you
three.
know? How many women do you know that have these qualities?
So I know quite a few in my circle.
She knows more than I do. Yeah, my daughter, number one. My daughter has associates, but I'm coming out of a very restricted background. So I'm in a different place than my peeps. You know, I have different groups of peeps. I got peeps in the church. I got peeps in the synagogue. I got peeps in the congregation, and I still relate to them because I know my audience. Yeah, but I'm kind of like on my own path, having to do with discernment, truth, like my friend mentioned, and seeing, getting my own ideas from the Most High rather than a religious base or teaching. So she knows more women, yeah, who are
In
like
this
that.
moment.
Yeah, please share.
I've it also reminds me of right now is such a time
I
of,
keep doing this because I'm thinking we're talking.
oh, that's okay.
Watch when you stand up.
I just wanted to show you here down in the Caribbean, one of the things they do with plantains is they make these flat, just a little side interlude, flattened. So you fry them on one way, other way, and then you take them off and you squish them and then you refry them and you add some seasonings. These are patacones.
They
That's
look
what
amazing.
I've been
Yeah,
snacking on.
shame I can't try it.
Yeah. Can we?
Um,
Danusha, do you have, oh,
Come down to Costa Rica.
I
Yeah.
would love to.
will I have to take a swab for that?
I don't believe so. I think this is one place you can still, as long as you got the insurance, you're swab free here. So
I don't want a swab.
unless you're coming from the US of A, but you're in Canada, so you're good.
Yeah, I'm in England, so there's crazy stuff here. So
Yes.
I'd love to be there. I'll tell you what,
Okay, we'll put that energy out there. Now, Danusha, do you have anything to say?
I did, but it's kind of gone now.
Oh.
Let me see if I can get it back. Well, two things. One that we can maybe elaborate on, but it don't really matter. When we were talking about, when you mentioned about the balance, finding the balance. Well, the balance is consistently happening through the imbalance. That's the beauty about it. So that we're not looking for the balance because that brings big expectations.
Yeah.
It's going with the imbalance and what then is, like we've said, in those moments, discerning whether that person's around for a conversation, weeks, months, years. It's the consistency of the flow. And as when Chloe mentioned about the higher powers, I do keep bringing this up because this is where people are looking things outside from. There's how what we've got in this subconscious or non-consciousness is beyond phenomenal. We're kind of floating through space, time, water, whatever you want to call it, and we're only able to tangibly see, touch, feel, sense what we're meant to when we keep fine-tuning. And when people keep saying this is it's going to be great the next couple of decades with the new terminology of truth rather than the past 30 to 40 years of new age kind of falsetto information, which didn't make you come back to your own heart and the clarity of you learning your truth, remembering who you are, where you were never meant to be, even in the womb, to come out, to be that child. And that's why we have to remember how to play. But the higher self is, if you want to call it, a lot of people say the higher self. To me, it's your soul. Your soul is your best mate. Your soul is your twin soul, twin flame. Your soul is you, the massive 90% of you. And that is what we have to connect with. Of course, we've got guardians, energies, frequencies that will be there to stand by as an equality, sharing wisdom, support, all this kind of stuff, as well as yucky stuff out there. But our soul is our language to the heart. And then that's through if you want to go the ladders of the source, energy, infinite, God, whatever. It's like bring it down through your soul, your essence, your heart.
That's
So there's
beautiful.
that word discernment again. So this is very key because this what you're sharing right now. This is what I'm hearing you say, because if the goal is connect to your higher self, to know your true self, you know, you gotta have you're gotta be aware, you know, building that consciousness, and that's where discernment comes in.
Sorry.
All is
Go,
well.
Keisha. Go, Keisha.
So coming back into that divine masculine, divine feminine, and the opposite of, let's say, just the unconscious masculine, unconscious feminine, so to speak. So I've really been on my journey of realizing what that is and clearing what wasn't serving the highest good of all. So initially, a lot of my life, my masculine, that's really based on survival and very intelligent, very skillful, was the driving force in my life. And so I hit a point where, as I started to open up to plant medicine, and so a lot of people, to answer your question also directly, the people that I know that have that more balanced divine masculine feminine, a lot of them have done work with plant medicines, ancient tribal medicines, ceremony to clear ancestral traumas or baggage from this lifetime, what have you. And so they've been able to integrate into themselves in a different way. And so those who haven't have also found other paths, be it by yoga or who knows what practices. There's many ways to get there. So for myself, when I first had ayahuasca during a winter solstice, it was this awakening and something in me that had me say, because I recognized my masculine was really strong and I missed my feminine. And so I created that I wanted to be strong, if not stronger, in my divine or in my feminine. I didn't even know divine masculine or feminine at the time. I just knew I wanted to be strong in my feminine. That way I could feel balanced and also honor my womanhood. And so it's been this journey since 2013 is when I did the landmark forum. That was the opening to there's something else and there's other people of like mind and spirit in the world. And so now I feel like I've really been able to enjoy the balance of my masculine and my feminine working together, and also incorporate the balance of the heart of my mind and the mind of my heart working in unison and harmony has been the next phase for me that's been transpiring of late. And the last thing I want to say is there's this beautiful piece by Rumi, and it's in one of the Alana Fairchild Oracle decks, the Rumi deck, and the card is Al-Uza, the star of Venus. And the purpose of Venus, of what I knew of Venus, was basically it's the planet of love. And I found myself saying, approximately a year ago, started saying, I'm from Venus. Because someone recognized me as, oh, you're from Venus. And Kuan Yin for me was always, I resonated with her, like I remained on the planet so that love and compassion and gentleness would remain. And so I felt like I awoke like the avatar, and all of the reasons for love not existing was my fault. And so coming from this place of like, oh my gosh, whether that was, you know, more ego of it's all my fault, but just that matter of ownership, that we're all responsible for everything that's happening on the planet, and standing from that point, and now how do we move forward? So this card basically is about enjoying the duality of the divine masculine, the divine feminine coming into it, and the journey into oneness now, so that it's not about that duality, but we come into whatever we have to do to enjoy this human experience and process, enjoy it, and that ultimate place is that oneness of love that I believe we're all working towards, no matter where we're at, and we can each help each other along, like, you know, a mother helping a toddler, like, come on, nudging you on the butt, you know, just like a little bit at a time. So that's my answer to your question.
That was great. You know what? You said something that was really important that I think is another one of those things we're going to need going forward, which is responsibility. That is so scary to a lot of people, taking accountability and responsibility, because it taps into them feeling shame, right? Them feeling blamed, them feeling guilty.
Yes.
And so what happens is they don't want to take responsibility. It's like, if I take responsibility, then I'm admitting I'm wrong or less than or not enough or screwed up or bad, right?
And that's so perfect, because I went through that window and that door, and it did feel horrible, because it was like, well, if I'm to blame, then what? But it's just like everything else, to feel it all, to feel that, okay, I'm to blame. Okay, whatever it is, you know, I ignored that can on the garbage, or that piece of garbage I walked by on the beach, or to whatever degree it is, but to be able to own it and experience it all, because that is what the oneness is. If one person is suffering, we're all suffering, you know, like the village doesn't thrive and everyone's celebrating while someone's hovering in the back going through something. That comes together and everyone shows up and brings them into the water and helps them heat, you know. So
I could never receive that. I have to tell you, that would scare the shit out of me. That scene of people coming because I'm suffering and taking me and helping me on. That's so overwhelming, because I'm not in the one and the all. I feel like that's me.
I think it's going to cut out in a second. I think you should say, you should save this before, because if it dies out, your recording gets lost.
Is there something happening that you think it's going to die out?
Yeah, it popped up and said the meeting is like going out or something in a second. I didn't read it, but
okay, let's meet on the second link. Let's meet on the second link.
Okay, that way you can save.
See you there.